News. LifeLock. More detection, more protection.
The opinions expressed on this show are those of the participants, the hosts, the guests, and the callers, and do not necessarily reflect the opinions and views of Southern Stone Communications, WNDB Radio, its employees, and friends. Comments regarding WNDB's programming can be addressed to D. Lang at DaytonaRadio.com.
Live from Daytona Beach, Florida, bringing a voice to America's forgotten working class, speaking the truth for the America that Washington left behind, making America great again, 1 hour at a time. This is Trump Talk Live, where we the people have the right voice, presented by the Republican Party of Volusia County. Now, here are your hosts, Vic Baker and Tony Ledbetter.
Greetings, fellow American Patriot Trumpublicans, and welcome to the Pearl Harbor Day, Jerusalem Declaration, FBI Credibility Crisis, Mueller Team Malpractice, Al Frankengroper Day of Shame, John Conyers Comeuppance, Tax Reform Home Stretch, Bears Ears Pin Back episode of Trump Talk Live, the home of fearless truth-telling about President Donald Trump and his bold mission to lead America and the world where no president has gone before. Congress voted more than 22 years ago to recognize reality by acknowledging the holy city of Jerusalem as the one true capital of Israel. The Jewish state has seen Jerusalem as its capital for more than 2,000 years. But no American president before Trump has had the guts to stand up and tell the world to stop pretending otherwise. In just a few years, the United States Embassy will relocate from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. The Palestinians can now forget about using the city as a bargaining chip in endless peace talks that go nowhere. Donald Trump has broken the mold and shamed the cowardice of other world leaders by declaring the obvious. The FBI is in the hot seat as shocking revelations emerge about rampant anti-Trump bias among FBI agents and key deputies of Bob Mueller's witch hunt team. We've learned that Peter Strzok, who was a key agent involved in Hillary's softball FBI interview, was a rabid anti-Trumper and pro-Hillary insider. It was Strzok who changed cover-up Comey's description of Hillary's sloppy email handling as extremely careless instead of gross negligence, which would have triggered prosecution of the same type that hit General Petraeus. It was Strzok who gave immunity to key Hillary informants and lieutenants, and it was Strzok who used the phony Fusion GPS Trump dossier to get warrants for spying on the Trump team. It was Strzok who went after Mike Flynn for lying, but excused Hillary and her accomplices from a mountain of whoppers. FBI Director Christopher Wray had some explaining to do on Capitol Hill today. You'll want to hear Jim Jordan's interrogation. At the same time, the corrupt media is getting caught up in a web of lies again. ABC News had to suspend lefty investigative reporter Brian Ross for journalistic malpractice after he committed journalistic malpractice, as we just said, by falsely reporting that candidate Trump ordered Mike Flynn to talk to the Russians. The New York Times had to retract claims about K.T. McFarland, and a Reuters report about Mueller's subpoenas of Trump bank records from Deutsche Bank turned out to be another fantasy. Folks, they're making stuff up every day. Ultra-liberal, unfunny, bad joke comic Senator Al Frankengroper resigned today for sexual incidents he claimed didn't happen or were misremembered. Who's laughing now, Al? John Conyers retired amid mounting allegations of sexual harassment. This allows Democrats to point the finger at President Trump and at Judge Roy Moore, who largely debunked 40-year-old claims that were made against him. It's a setup, folks. We'll hear from Steve Bannon about what's really going on here. All the while, the Senate passes historic tax reform, and the president promises America he'll deliver the biggest Christmas gift since Reagan. The stock market is soaring, consumer confidence is high, the economy is already growing above 3% GDP, something that never happened under Obama's 8 years, and Trump predicts 6% after tax reform is enacted. The Supreme Court keeps President's new travel plan in effect, and Trump pins Obama's ears back by reversing the federal monument land grab at Bears Ears in Utah. We're coming to you live tonight from Daytona Beach studios of WNDB. You can listen at 93.5 FM or 1150 AM if you're within range. If you're outside the signal area, you can also listen online at TrumpTalkLive.com. You can actually watch us live tonight on the Volusia County Republican Facebook page. We provide a live video feed to Facebook and also to the Vic Baker channel on YouTube. Just search for Trump Talk Live in quotes and find us there. We're grateful, as always, to the Volusia County Teenage Republicans, led by TARS Chair Duncan DeMarsh, handling the graphics for our live web stream with capable assistance from fellow Teenage Republican Ian Escalante tonight. Phil Kincaid is the virtuoso of the sound bites, handling the audio portion of our program with professional finesse as always. I'm your Trumpublican truth teller, Vic Baker, hosting Trump Talk Live alongside the tireless America First and MAGA warrior, Volusia County Republican Chairman Tony Ledbetter. Tony.
Thank you, Vic. It's like President Trump said during the election cycle, that we would be winning and winning and winning and winning, and for the last week, I mean, I really feel like it now. I mean, we are really striking up some winning days. I'm really encouraged too about the FBI, the Justice Department. They're starting to drain the swamp. We'll get into a little bit of that later in the program, but there's a couple of things that's happened yesterday and today where people are going to start paying the price for doing wrong things. So let's get her done and get to it.
We're going to start with something very historic, because this has never been done by an American president before. Harry Truman set up the State of Israel when he was the president. That was a courageous thing to do. In the aftermath of World War II, memories were fresh about the Holocaust then. But no president in the last 22 years, even though Congress approved it, has had the guts to declare Jerusalem is, in fact, the capital of Israel. The Palestinians want to claim it as their capital. It's the home of the Israeli capital. There was no Palestinian state before it was created by the United Nations. As the State of Israel was recreated, it originally existed in biblical times. So the president came out today, show the graphic, or not today, this week, and declared that, in fact, new approaches are needed because nothing's worked to get peace going anyway. So let's try.
When I came into office, I promised to look at the world's challenges with open eyes and very fresh thinking. We cannot solve our problems by making the same failed assumptions and repeating the same failed strategies of the past. Old challenges demand new approaches.
That's our president saying it hasn't worked, so why don't we try something else? So, and he's giving a little history lesson here as he continues.
In 1995, Congress adopted the Jerusalem Embassy Act, urging the federal government to relocate the American embassy to Jerusalem and to recognize that that city, and so importantly, is Israel's capital. This act passed Congress by an overwhelming bipartisan majority and was reaffirmed by a unanimous vote of the Senate only 6 months ago. Yet for over 20 years, every previous American president has exercised the law's waiver, refusing to move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem or to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital city.
So the United Nations is pushed back against this. The Pope has pushed back against it. Our weak-kneed European allies have pushed back against it. But you know something? Quietly, a lot of Arab leaders are saying it's about time he said the truth. And so what Trump has done is he's called the Palestinians bluff. And we got nothing to lose. We have not gotten peace in the Mideast with all these years of holding back on this. So why not just go ahead and do it and take it off the table? So let's listen to him on that.
After more than 2 decades of waivers, we are no closer to a lasting peace agreement between Israel and the Palestinians. It would be folly to assume that repeating the exact same formula would now produce a different or better result. Therefore, I have determined that it is time to officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. While previous presidents have made this a major campaign promise, they failed to deliver. Today, I am delivering.
Let's check off one more Trump campaign promise fulfilled.
That's right, and what's exciting to me is, you know, every time he does something like this and he fulfills another promise, it's to me, it's like taking a nail and driving another nail in the Democrats' coffin, because this president says things and then he does things, and then this peace thing that we've talked about for what 30 or 40 or 50 years. There was never any peace, and you can just throw that into the fake news category, because that's what it was all about. It was smoke and mirrors, and you know, they just wanted us to give them more hundreds of millions and billions of our dollars, and then they behaved. So didn't work then, it's not going to work in the future under that scenario.
Right, and he also acknowledges the fact that, Cut 5 will be next, that Israel is a holy city for the three major religions of the world, and therefore this designation further enforces the protection of that city, because the state of Israel has been open to all free practices of all religions, regardless of the fact that it's the Jewish state.
Jerusalem is not just the heart of three great religions, but it is now also the heart of one of the most successful democracies in the world. Over the past 7 decades, the Israeli people have built a country where Jews, Muslims, and Christians, and people of all faiths are free to live and worship according to their conscience and according to their beliefs.
Now, President Trump, there are people who have been said, even Chuck Schumer, by the way, is on board with this, because, of course, he has a big Jewish constituency in the city of New York. So the Democrats have been muted in their criticism because they've been in favor of it because they have Jewish constituencies. You know, the world seems to be against the state of Israel, but Donald Trump is not. He understands it. And what he's saying here, we'll do Cut 6 next, is it's the capital of Israel, in fact, so we might as well acknowledge it.
Jerusalem is today and must remain a place where Jews pray at the Western Wall, where Christians walk the stations of the cross, and where Muslims worship at Al-Aqsa Mosque. However, through all of these years, presidents representing the United States have declined to officially recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. In fact, we have declined to acknowledge any Israeli capital at all. But today we finally acknowledge the obvious, that Jerusalem is Israel's capital. This is nothing more or less than a recognition of reality. It is also the right thing to do.
Thank you, President Trump, for bringing us back to reality. We'll be back with the roasting of the FBI director and startling revelations of corruption and bias in the Department of Justice and FBI when Trump Talk Live returns.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033. Don't go away. We'll return in a moment with more Trump Talk Live, where the truth will set us free.
Feeling stuck in a state of compensation stagnation? You know, another year with no raise. Then let State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand help you get to a better state with a discount double check that can stretch your hard-earned dollars a little farther. Sonia will go through your car insurance to make sure you're getting all the discounts you deserve. Discounts that could add up to 40% and put a few $100 extra in your pocket. Sound good? Then get your budget to a better state by calling State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand today. Discounts may vary state to state.
The 2017 Port Orange Christmas movie Under the Stars takes place Friday, December 8th at the City Center Ken Parker Amphitheater with the holiday favorite, Christmas with the Cranks. The fun starts at 5:30 p.m. with pre-movie holiday activities. For more info, go to FamilyDays.com. That's FamilyDays.com. Sponsored by Halifax Health, Gary Yeomans Honda, and Bright House. Hosted by Port Orange Family Days Community Trust and media sponsor Metro PCS. This public service announcement provided by WNDB.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033.
You heard the phone number. Feel free to call in if you wish. Now, another top Department of Justice official has been demoted amid the probe of contacts with Trump dossier firm Fusion GPS. A senior Justice Department official was demoted this week amid the ongoing investigation. Bruce G. Orr held two titles at DOJ, Associate Deputy Attorney General, a post that placed him 4 doors down from his boss, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, and Director of the Organized Crime Drug Task Force, a program described by the department as the centerpiece of the Attorney General's drug strategy. Orr will retain that title, but he's been stripped of his higher post and ousted from his office on the 4th floor of Main Justice. Initially, senior department officials could not provide a reason, but Fox News has learned that evidence collected by the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, chaired by Nunes, indicates that Orr met during the 2016 campaign with Christopher Steele, the former British spy who authored that fake pile of crap known as the Trump dossier. So his hands are dirty in the smear against Donald Trump that actually provided ammunition for the spying on Trump that started this whole mess in the first place. Now, an FBI agent named Peter Strzok, we've talked about, who's been dismissed from Mueller's team, changed Comey's description of Clinton's behavior with the emails from grossly negligent to extremely careless. Now, why is that important? That's important because by so doing, he removed the exact legal language that describes it as a crime. So very much by that little finesse, he managed to get her off the hook for prosecution, and you saw what happened. They said, well, she did all these things, but we don't think there's any reasonable prosecutor that would prosecute. So also, this same FBI agent has changed a number, and they're looking over about 10,000 of his texts now to see other communication, to anti-Trump messages with his mistress, who is also in the federal law enforcement community. Peter Strzok, reported the official had first signed the Russia's FBI Russian investigation into existence and interviewed Michael Flynn. He's also reported the one who softened the former FBI Director Comey's language about Hillary. So, that's more dirt on this guy. Okay, so what happens? The new FBI director in the job only 4 months, Christopher Wray, Mr. Clean, Dick Tracy, he goes up to Capitol Hill, and he's going to have a little questioning about this Peter Strzok character and a few of the others that are involved in dirty dealings against Trump, which they're supposed to be neutral in the law enforcement community. So Jim Jordan, get ready with Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan wants to know. He said he grills the FBI director about the bias of Peter Strzok, who was removed from Mueller's team. Let's start with one.
Director, was Agent Peter Strzok the former deputy head of counterintelligence at the FBI?
I don't remember his exact title, but I believe that's correct.
And he's the same Peter Strzok who was a key player in the Clinton investigation, the same Peter Strzok who interviewed Cheryl Mills, Huma Abedin, participated in the Secretary Clinton's interview. And he's also the same Peter Strzok who now we know changed Director Comey's exoneration letter, changed the term gross negligence, which is a crime, to extreme carelessness. Is that the same guy?
Well, Congressman, I don't know every step that the individual you mentioned was involved in, but certainly I know that he was heavily involved in the Clinton email investigation.
Thank you. And is this the same Peter Strzok who helped, was a key player in the Russian investigation, and the same Peter Strzok who was put on Mueller's team, Special Counsel Bob Mueller's team?
I certainly know that he was working on the special counsel's investigation. Whether or not he would be characterized as a key player on that investigation, that's really not for me to say.
And the same Peter Strzok that we learned this past weekend was removed from the special counsel team because he exchanged text messages with a colleague at the FBI that displayed a pro-Clinton bias. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Talk about the same guy. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. We're back on. So that was a pretty good layout right there, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now Jordan drilled down a little further about the bias of the Mueller team. Let's hear the next one.
Well, here's what I'm not getting. Peter Strzok is selected to be on Mueller's team after all this history, put on Mueller's team, and then he's removed for some pro-Clinton text messages. I mean, there are all kinds of people on Mueller's team who are pro-Clinton. There's been all kinds of stories. PolitiFact reported 96% of the top lawyers' contributions went to Clinton or Obama. But Peter Strzok, the guy who ran the Clinton investigation, interviewed Mills, Abedin, interviewed Secretary Clinton, changed gross negligence a crime to the term extreme carelessness, who ran the Russian investigation, who interviewed Mike Flynn, gets put on Mueller's team, and then he gets kicked off for a text message that's anti-Trump. If you kicked everybody off Mueller's team who was anti-Trump, I don't think there'd be anybody left.
Pretty true on that.
Yep.
Okay, now then Jordan digs in. This is going to be epic. It's going to take a couple minutes, but he digs in about the Fusion GPS dossier, and that served as a basis for the FBI FISA warrant that authorized spying on the Trump team. That whole thing was a load of crap.
Yep.
It was financed with $10 million from the Democrat National Committee and Hillary Clinton's campaign through a law firm that paid this guy, Christopher Steele, who got the dirt from Russians. So there's Russian collusion for you.
Yeah,
and then the
FBI was dirty in it.
FBI used it as documentation to get a warrant against Trump. Remember when Trump said, Obama wiretapped me? Well, guess what? They did. Well, let's listen to this scenario.
There's got to be something more here. It can't just be some text messages that show a pro-Clinton, anti-Trump bias. There's got to be something more. And I'm trying to figure out what it is. But my hunch is it has something to do with the dossier. Director, did Peter Strzok help produce and present the application to the FISA court to secure a warrant to spy on Americans associated with the Trump campaign?
Congressman, I'm not prepared to discuss anything about a FISA process in this setting.
We're not talking about what happened in the court. We're talking about what the FBI took to the court, the application. Did Peter Strzok, was he involved in taking that to the court?
I'm not going to discuss in this setting anything to do with the FISA court applications.
Well, let's remember a couple things, Director. And I know you know this. We've all been made aware of this in the last few weeks. Let's remember a couple things about the dossier. The Democrat National Committee and the Clinton campaign, which we now know were one and the same, paid the law firm, who paid Fusion GPS, who paid Christopher Steele, who then paid Russians, to put together a report that we call a dossier full of all kinds of fake news, National Enquirer garbage. And it's been reported that this dossier was all dressed up by the FBI, taken to the FISA court, and presented as a legitimate intelligence document basis for granting a warrant to spy on Americans. And I'm wondering if that actually took place. It sure looks like it did. And the easiest way to clear it up is for you guys to tell us what was in that application and who took it there.
Congressman, our staffs have been having extensive interaction with both intelligence committees on our interaction with the FISA court, and I think that's the appropriate setting for those questions.
Here's what I think, Director Wray. I think Peter Strzok, head of counterintelligence at the FBI, Peter Strzok, the guy who ran the Clinton investigation, did all the interviews, Peter Strzok, the guy who was running the Russian investigation at the FBI, Peter Strzok, Mr. Super Agent at the FBI, I think he's the guy who took the application to the FISA court.
Okay.
Amen.
Clarification here. Clarification. Chairman Goodlatte of the House Judiciary Committee corrected Christopher Wray, the FBI director, to remind him that the House Judiciary Committee has jurisdiction over the FISA court and therefore is entitled to see all documents related to the FISA court, even if behind closed doors. So Christopher Wray was corrected on that. He has been instructed to provide that information. So we have a caller that we've had waiting in New Smyrna Beach. Mike, you're on Trump Talk Live. Mike, go ahead.
Hey, Vic, you guys got a great show. Enjoying it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to talk about this scandal at the FBI and Peter Strzok. You know how Flynn got charged with the process crime of lying to the FBI. According to the information that I've heard, Peter Strzok was involved in the interviews of Cheryl Mills and Huma Abedin.
Yes.
Having to do with Hillary Clinton's emails. And I haven't heard anybody else say this, but maybe I can jog your memory. If I'm not mistaken, he confiscated their laptops. And that would have done a lot to go in and find, to help him go in and find some emails that, had been classified. That Hillary sent from her server at home. And I think I recall somebody saying that he also destroyed those laptops. Do you recall either one of those things? That he confiscated the laptops? I
didn't see specifically whether it was Peter Strzok who did it, but I understand that the FBI did destroy some of those laptops, destroyed the evidence for... Obviously, it doesn't sound like a normal FBI procedure with a case that is, of this importance, that you would destroy the evidence. And yes, and it was Weiner's laptop that yielded a lot of this, and at the last minute before the election, they re-examined it, and within days, they came back with the conclusion there was nothing there, which seems to me a little strange also. But I think that this smells to high heaven, and I think that there ought to be another... I hesitate to ask for another special prosecutor because they can be loose cannons. But somebody has to investigate the investigators now, because they're
he
corrupt.
pointed out today on this hearing that the IG, the Inspector General from the Justice Department, is looking at all of this stuff. So this is not a dead issue.
But the Inspector General has no real power over former employees. And all they can do is make recommendations. You have to count on the Department of Justice to do something, and if the Justice Department has to investigate itself, then good luck.
Well, no, this is an IG doing the inspections, and I mean, you do have a different crew of people working at the top. It's not like we've got the.
But the IG doesn't do the prosecutions. It has to be then turned over to Justice Department.
But I still think we may be in the right place to keep. They're gonna keep digging.
We hope so. Mike, I appreciate your contribution to Trump Talk Live. Thank you for listening.
Thanks a lot. You're doing a great job.
Thank you, Mike.
Good work.
Okay. Also, now just to add to the list here. Mueller deputy named Andrew Weissman. I think we have his picture there. Deputy Special Counsel Robert Mueller's Russia probe, top prosecutor. He sent praise to Sally Yates, who was fired by Trump after she defied Trump's travel ban back in January. The email obtained by Judicial Watch through a federal lawsuit shows that the night of January 30th, Andrew Weissman wrote to Yates under the subject line, "I'm so proud." He continued, "And in awe, thank you so much, all my deepest respects." So he's in the tank, okay? Another one, Mueller deputy Jeannie Ray. Jeannie Ray is a Mueller deputy. Jeannie Ray was a personal attorney for Ben Rhodes, who was the Deputy National Security Advisor for Obama. She was also an attorney for the Clinton Foundation. Need I say anything more there? Okay, Mueller's credibility is in the toilet. He needs to quit. The Wall Street Journal has said he should. And if he doesn't quit, here's a way we can do something about it. By saying to Mueller, you must remove all staffers who contributed to any political campaigns. Cleanse your staff. If he refuses to do it, then have Rosenstein fire him. If Rosenstein won't do it, fire Rosenstein and get somebody else in there to do the job. Just replace him. That's it. Okay, we'll come back with more media corruption. Well, we got another minute, so I'll do this. We'll get this out of the way. ABC News president excoriates staff over Brian Ross's Michael Flynn error. James Goldstein excoriated the staff Monday over Brian Ross' major error on a report on former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. Announced that Ross would no longer cover stories related to President Trump. That's a pretty big downgrade. Ross had initially reported Friday morning that Flynn was prepared to testify that Donald Trump, as a candidate, had instructed him to reach out to the Russians. Ross said more than 7 hours later on World News Tonight that his information was actually that Flynn was prepared to testify. Trump made the request as president-elect. That's a huge difference, Tony, because it's perfectly legal once you're elected to reach out because you're preparing for your presidency.
Yeah, also, the one they need to go after is the Obamaite who's overseas, talking treason. I mean, it's bad.
Yeah. Next one. New York Times forced to heavily amend another supposed KT McFarland scoop. Times got ahead of itself again with a scoop involving former Deputy National Security Advisor KT McFarland, the Russians, and the 2016 presidential election. The story, now titled "McFarland's Testimony About Russia's Contacts," is questioned. Reportedly originally that an email sent by the former Trump transition official indicated she lied to Congress this summer when she was questioned about disgraced General Michael Flynn's communications with the Russians. The article's been heavily amended since publication, so it now mostly is just innuendo. They had to back away because it wasn't true.
This is bad too, because I mean you've got a general here, and then you got KT McFarland. These people did nothing wrong, but their lives have been destroyed over nothing. You know, this Peter guy was the one that interviewed Flynn, and I hope and I bet you that's going to come back to bite him, because you know, that's like the wolf guarding the hen house.
We'll finish that up, this topic up, and have others, tax reform and the Frankengroper affair, when Trump Talk Live returns.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033. Keep your radio, phone app, or computer right where it is. We'll return in a moment with more Trump Talk Live, melting liberal lies 1 hour at a time.
Ho, ho, ho. Get the best deals of the year during Giant Recreation World's Christmas RV sale, going on now through Sunday. It's Giant Recreation World's Christmas sale, and you get the presents.
Whether you've been naughty or nice.
Like up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Stop by and celebrate the Christmas season now through Sunday at any of the 3 Giant Recreation World showrooms in Winter Garden, Palm Bay, and Destination Daytona and Ormond Beach for Christmas deals on their giant selection of new and used travel trailers, pop-up campers, fifth wheels, and motorhomes. You'll find the top names: Tiffin, Holiday Rambler, Monaco, Coachman, Forest River, and more. Trade anything of value.
I'm gonna trade my sleigh.
Plus, only the Giant offers an exclusive lifetime warranty and VIP camping club. Enjoy a free cookout daily from 11 to 2, plus drawings. Stop by any of their 3 showrooms in Winter Garden, Palm Bay, Destination Daytona, and Ormond Beach, and always online at thegiant1.com. That's thegiant1.com.
Ho, ho, ho.
Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033.
So, Reuters, worldwide news service, reports that Mueller has subpoenaed Trump's bank records with Deutsche Bank. That would imply that Mueller's fishing into Trump's personal business affairs long before he became the president, which is far afield of the original mission. And but that would be a rather alarming thing for Trump. But it turns out Sarah Sanders told the White House press corps today, no subpoena has been issued or received. We've confirmed this with the bank and other sources. I think it's another example of the media going too far and too fast, and we don't see it going in that direction. Back on camera, President Trump was asked about General Flynn, his guilty plea on Friday. And here's what President Trump had to say about General Flynn.
Well, I feel badly for General Flynn. I feel very badly. He's led a very strong life, and I feel very badly, John. I will say this. Hillary Clinton lied many times to the FBI. Nothing happened to her. Flynn lied, and they destroyed his life. I think it's a shame. Hillary Clinton, on the 4th of July weekend, went to the FBI, not under oath. It was the most incredible thing anyone's ever seen. She lied many times. Nothing happened to her. Flynn lied, and it's like they ruined his life.
Yep, and that's what Trump had to say about that. He's also said the FBI's reputation's in tatters, and the Democrats are all at Twitter over that, saying he's undermining the FBI. Hey, the president can say anything he wants.
He's 100% right.
Especially if it's true. The same thing with Jerusalem. If it's true, it's true.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Okay, on to Judicial Watch. These people are heroes of democracy. They're warriors, because they have been after the government to hold them accountable, especially the FBI's emails relative to, at first the FBI stonewalled and said there were no such emails, and turns out there were. And they uncovered the fact the FBI was more interested in covering up that tarmac meeting between Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton that preceded Hillary getting let off the hook by Comey. So here is what Tom Fitton, the president of Judicial Watch, said to Sean Hannity this week about those FBI lies.
Well, first of all, the FBI didn't want to give us these documents. We only found out about them through another lawsuit because the FBI, when we asked them for Clinton Lynch tarmac records, said they didn't have anything.
So they lied to you?
They lied to us.
And then, by the way, you're acting under, I believe, FOIA, the Freedom of Information.
Yeah, we had a federal lawsuit. They said they couldn't find anything, but another lawsuit about tarmac records, the Justice Department found records that that involved the FBI.
So here you have a law enforcement agency ignoring federal law, just to be clear.
That's right. And they took 6 weeks to turn over the 29 pages, and they show that the FBI was more concerned about a whistleblower in the local Phoenix Police Department, they think, who was talking about the meeting and how it happened, than about the meeting itself.
He was talking with Tucker Carlson this week, my mistake. There is no evidence the FBI was at all concerned, as he said, about the legal impropriety of tarmac meeting between the AG and Bill Clinton. Here's more on that.
We haven't gotten any documents showing the FBI was concerned about the meeting itself, which, according to the Attorney General of the United States at the time, General Lynch, she admitted it cast a shadow over her Clinton investigation.
As a result of that meeting.
Well, she said she did, but she actually didn't. She made the final decision not to prosecute Hillary Clinton a few weeks after meeting with her husband, a witness and putative target.
There you go. Now, Comey, the president of Judicial Watch, believes that Comey has corrupted the FBI with politics.
The leadership of the FBI was ruined by James Comey and the politics of trying to protect Hillary Clinton. The Justice Department and the FBI became arms of the Clinton campaign last year. And frankly, it continued into the Trump administration, as we saw with the ambush interview of General Flynn. I think there is a significant crisis not only at the FBI, but at the Justice Department. We had this other FBI agent involved in the Clinton email investigation, also involved in the Russia investigation, a key decision maker in both investigations. Both investigations, in my view, have been irredeemably compromised. The Clinton investigation needs to be reopened, and the Mueller investigation needs to be shut down until we figure out how badly it's been politicized.
So there you have Judicial Watch.
Let's talk. Let's
screen.
He used the word ambushed. Did you catch that? I mean, the way I read this today, what I heard was that the FBI was coming to the White House, and General Flynn thought they were there just on a routine basis to explain things, and then he says they showed up in his office without an attorney being present. He didn't have time to bring an attorney in there, which he should have had before he answered any of their stupid questions. But then they just walked in his office and started interviewing him. That's what he's talking about with this ambush meeting.
They hardballed him, and the fact is that he took the plea to cut his losses because he didn't want to bankrupt his family. He had to sell his house already to pay the legal bill.
Disgusting.
The federal government has unlimited resources. They want to go after you, and you don't have anything to stand up for you. Now, let's switch gears now and talk about Senator Frankengroper. The Democrats' real sweet strategy this week is to jettison a couple of their longtime Democrat stalwarts who've been misbehaving with women in order to throw the burden of guilt over to the Republicans, who haven't thrown overboard some people, so that they're saying that the Republicans are the hypocrites now, even though they have overlooked this stuff with Bill Clinton for 20 years, or 50 years actually, and that Franken and the others have been overlooked. Okay, so Franken takes to the floor of the Senate all high and mighty today and announces he's going to resign in a few weeks.
Over the last few weeks, a number of women have come forward to talk about how they felt my actions had affected them. I was shocked. I was upset. But in responding to their claims, I also wanted to be respectful of that broader conversation, because all women deserve to be heard and their experiences taken seriously. I think that was the right thing to do. I also think it gave some people the false impression that I was admitting to doing things that, in fact, I haven't done. Some of the allegations against me are simply not true. Others I remember very differently.
Okay, but instead of admitting that he did what he's accused of doing, he's claiming he doesn't remember it the way they do and basically discounting it, but he's resigning anyway. But instead now of putting his fingers all over women, he's pointing fingers at President Trump and Judge Roy Moore. Let's listen.
Today I am announcing that in the coming weeks, I will be resigning as a member of the United States Senate. I, of all people, am aware that there is some irony in the fact that I am leaving while a man who has bragged on tape about his history of sexual assault sits in the Oval Office, and a man who has repeatedly preyed on young girls campaigns for the Senate with the full support of his party.
So the Frankengroper High and Mighty is the arbiter of social propriety with regard to women now. You know, he...
Well, he should have never been there. The election that he won was stolen by the Democrats.
The man's a joke. He's a bad comedian from Saturday Night Live. He's the past now. Now, Judge Roy Moore is standing high in the polls, is likely going to win the seat in Alabama despite all this. And, of course, Donald Trump has endorsed him. So let's listen to what the president had to say about Roy Moore.
We don't want to have a liberal Democrat in Alabama, believe me. We want strong borders. We want stopping crime. We want to have the things that we represent, and we certainly don't want to have a liberal Democrat that's controlled by Nancy Pelosi and controlled by Chuck Schumer. We don't want to have that for Alabama.
Okay, we're going to switch to Steve Bannon. We'll talk about Conyers in a minute, but that's just to mention John Conyers is out. You got a picture of John Conyers there? We'll give him that much. He didn't even show up. He called a radio station to say he's out. 88-year-old senior member of Congress, John Conyers, retires, recommends his 29-year-old son to replace him after he's been caught in numerous cases of pulling his pants down in front of women and harassing them and assaulting them.
Yeah, he's as bad as his dad.
You know, he's just, oh, good Lord. I mean, okay, let's switch back to Roy Moore. And Steve Bannon took to the stage to introduce Roy Moore at a rally in Alabama. And he talked about, well, for once, Jeff Flake. Okay.
Yeah, Flaky Flake.
Flake sent a $100 check to Democrat Doug Jones in the race. Republican Jeff Flake. Okay, so here's what Bannon had to say about Jeff Flake in that little check.
Economic nationalism does not care about your race, your color, your ethnicity. Let's talk about the Republican establishment, because they're the ones that first came after Judge Moore. Let's talk about Jeff Flake. Did he sign a check today, $100 to Jones? Right? What do you say? Put country ahead of party? Come on, brother. If you're going to write a check, right? Don't give the man $100. Are you kidding me? Hey, Flake, this is why your approval rating in your home state is like 11%.
So Bannon's got a good stand-up act going. Here, he says the GOP and Democratic establishment, they're like two peas in a pod, both out of touch with real America. Cut 3.
The Republican establishment and with the Democratic establishment, they think America's in decline, right? And they're comfortable managing that decline. It is the working men and women in Ohio, in Wisconsin, in Michigan, in Pennsylvania, and yes, right here in Alabama, that rejected that. Make America great again. The silent majority, the deplorables, they're not comfortable, and they will not accept America's decline. They're going to fight tooth and nail. And Senator Flake, the reason you're 11% in your own state and Kelly Ward was beating you by 27 points is that you don't get that. You know, all this stuff about Jeff Flake, Kelly Ward would have beaten you by 25 to 27 points. I don't want to hear about Jeff Flake. You could have be a better candidate against a Democrat. You had no chance of winning. That's why you stepped down.
That's Bannon. Now, as for the smear campaign against Roy Moore, it's a political hit job. He talks about that.
This whole thing was a setup. This whole thing was weaponized, right? You know that. Folks down here in Alabama know that. This is the Jeff Bezos, Amazon, Washington Post. Even Chuck Todd of NBC, of Matt Lauer fame, Chuck Todd, he even said it looked like I think he said it looked like a coordinated hit, because Mitch McConnell was out 57 minutes later saying Judge Moore should drop out. When Mitch McConnell said on Sunday, let the people of Alabama decide.
Finally said something right.
Yeah, and they're going to decide. Now, on Mitt Romney slamming Trump and more on the issues of honor and integrity, here's what Bannon says.
Mitt, here's how it is, brother. Now, the college deferments, you know, that's you know, we can debate that, but you hid behind your religion. You went to France to be a missionary while guys were dying in rice paddies in Vietnam. Do not talk to me about honor and integrity. And now I'm going to get personal. You ran for commander-in-chief. You had 5 sons, not one day of service in Afghanistan and Iraq. We have 7,000 dead and 52,000 casualties. And where were the Romneys during those wars? You want to talk about honor and integrity, brother? Bring it. Bring it down here to Alabama. You have the guts to get on the stage. You have the guts to get on the stage of a man that served in Vietnam, and you expect us to believe honor and integrity? Judge Roy Moore has more honor and integrity in that pinky finger than your entire family has in his whole DNA.
Enough said.
Amen.
We'll back in a moment.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033. Don't leave us. We'll be right back after a brief break with more Trump Talk Live, fighting truth decay day after day.
Zahn's Flowers is all about traditions, all about the beautiful lights, putting up the tree, baking the cookies. Whatever your tradition is this year at the holidays, spend it enjoying your family. Not stressing over the holidays and getting it all done. That's why Zahn's is here for you. Stop by for all your gift-giving needs. Pick up a fragrant holiday arrangement or call us at 386-252-3615 and arrange a delivery. Last-minute holiday party? Wondering what to bring? Zahn's has you covered for that too. No matter what you are looking for, we have something for everyone. So come visit us today at 140 West International Speedway Boulevard in Daytona Beach or call us at 386-252-3615. That's 386-252-3615. Zahn's Flowers has been creating holiday memories for over 90 years. Happy holidays from Zahn's. Shop online at zahnsflowers.com. That's ZAHNS flowers.com.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033.
Welcome back. Trump's approval rating, by the way, has jumped to 45%. I thought I'd get that out of the way. Now,
Great.
Trump was in Utah. We're going to switch out a sequence, Utah, and we're going to talk a little bit. The first thing he said, because we won't have time for a lot of these, he talked about tax reform, and he said it's going to happen by Christmas. Let's listen.
We're now one huge step closer to delivering to the American people the historic tax relief as a giant present for Christmas. Remember I said we're bringing Christmas back? Christmas is back bigger and better than ever before. We're bringing Christmas back. And we say it now with pride. Let me just say to those here today and all across the country, Merry Christmas to everybody.
Okay, he was in Utah to reverse Obama's, I say he pinned back Obama's.
He was giving our land back to us.
Pinned back Obama's big ears, gave Utah back the land at the Big Ears National Monument. Here's what he said in cut number 2.
I know all of you feel blessed to be living among some of the most glorious natural wonders anywhere in the world. You cherish Utah's gleaming rivers and sweeping valleys. You take inspiration from its majestic peaks. And when you look upon its many winding canyons and glowing vistas, you marvel at the beauty of God's great creation. And that is why I'm here today. Because some people think that the natural resources of Utah should be controlled by a small handful of very distant bureaucrats located in Washington. And guess what? They're wrong.
Also, federal courts that have put a delay on Trump's travel ban, the latest version, because it involves Venezuela and North Korea, along with some Muslim nations. The Supreme Court by a 7-2 vote. 7-2.
Right.
Not partisan. Only Sotomayor and one other voted against allowing. It will be in full enforcement while it's running through the courts with all these challenges, and you can know that the Supreme Court's going to turn them all back because the president has absolutely plenipotentiary power to restrict immigration to the United States. As for the spending bill, the temporary spending bill, it got final passage from the House and Senate for a 2-more-week extension. So no government shutdown. Trump called Fancy Nancy and Chuck Schumer to the White House today. They finally came today. Somewhat chastened by the empty seat scenario he set up. But guess what else he did? He brought the GOP senators this week to push his tax reform. And guess who he put in the seat right next to him? The sinister side, the left side.
Flake.
He put Flake. Put him right in the seat. And here's what the president said on tax on the GOP senators. He said in cut one.
But it's a fantastic bill for the middle class. It's a fantastic bill for jobs and for companies wanting to bring back massive amounts of money into our country. It's really, I view it more than anything else as it's a tremendous bill for jobs and for the middle class. And I think people see that and they're seeing it more and more. And the more they learn about it, the more popular it becomes.
He predicted quick passage.
The taxes we're so thrilled about, so popular, and I think something is going to be coming out of conference pretty quickly as opposed to long term. I think it's going to go pretty quickly. We're all on the same page. There's a great spirit in the Republican Party like I've never seen before, like a lot of people have said they've never seen before. They've never seen anything like this, the unity. So I think a lot of very good things are going to happen. It's going to happen very fast. During a cabinet meeting this week, he said we're going to get trillions of dollars returned to this country for investment here. And something else he said very telling. But let's listen to that in cut number one on tax bill. We're on the verge of a historic victory that cuts taxes for the middle class, for businesses, brings back probably in excess of $4 trillion. As you know, we've been saying $2.5 trillion for years. Well, that number's greatly expanded, and we'll be bringing back in excess of $4 trillion. It'll be put to work in our country. There'll be a lot of jobs being brought back with that money.
Now, you may recall that Obama's 8 years never saw growth even as much as 3%, and they were saying, oh, it's ridiculous for Trump to predict we'll get to 3%. That can't happen. It didn't happen in 8 years of Obama. Well, you know something? The first 3 quarters of the Trump administration have been above 3%. Yep. And, in fact, more than 3% in the last quarter, even after the hurricanes. And here's what Trump had to say about what this means for the economy in cut 4.
But to get it going the way I really want, where we have GDP getting up to 4, 5, and even 6%, because I think that's possible. If you look back in your notes, you'll say when I said 4%, people said that would be years. Well, it's turned out that I'm right, because without the hurricanes, this last quarter we would have hit 4%. At 3.3%, which was adjusted previously, this is far beyond what anybody thought we would be at. So we're at 3.3% GDP. I see no reason why we don't go to 4, 5, and even 6%.
And it's going to happen. It was went up to 7% in Reagan's second term after tax reform.
Right, we're headed there.
He had 4 families, all small business owners, into the White House this week to talk about what the tax reform would do for them. One of them significantly gave Trump a wooden American flag that they manufacture. Veterans are their employees, and it's all made in America. And he talked about how tax reform will benefit his little company.
We come from we're a small military family. I spent 15 years in the military, and I launched a company 2 years ago, and we're a veteran-owned, operated combat veteran company, and anything that's less complex with lower rates. I can't tell you what page 391 of a 500-page tax document says, but what I can tell you is those funds we can reinvest into our people and into our company, which will enable our mission to continue to hire veterans and to continue to manufacture in America. So that's greatly beneficial to us.
Split screen. Okay. So that's just an example of that. We're running low on time. One last thing. The NFL owners' little social justice bribe is a spectacular failure, a face plant, complete sack. They put out $90 million to bribe the players into respecting our flag and our anthem. Are you kidding me?
Yep.
You got to pay these guys to do this, you know, and largely they're doing it, but some of them still aren't. And they're losing money hand over fist because people are just not watching. I've stopped watching the beloved Buffalo Bills.
Jaguars are in bankruptcy.
I won't watch them anymore.
No, I'm done.
These team owners are going to go belly up if they don't get a clue about what the American people want.
Amen.
Well, Tony,
thank God for President Trump.
He
Merry
is
Christmas.
Shown them how to do it, and we're absolutely grateful to have you listen to us. As you can see us on Facebook Live, and this will be replayed on Facebook. You'll be able to see the replay on it, and YouTube Live. You can see it there on the Vic Baker channel. iPod podcast you can get by iTunes and Google Play. It's free on your phones. So we appreciate you being with us. We encourage you to call. We don't get a lot of calls because we push a lot of stuff into this show. But we want to tell the truth about Donald Trump, and we want you to hear the truth. So please tune in again next week for more Making America Great Again with Trump Talk Live. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
Stuck in a state of compensation stagnation? You know, another year with no raise. Then let State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand help you get to a better state with a discount double check that can stretch your hard-earned dollars a little farther. Sonia will go through your car insurance to make sure you're getting all the discounts you deserve. Discounts that could add up to 40% and put a few hundred extra dollars in your pocket. Sound good? Then get your budget to a better state by calling State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand today. Discounts may vary state to state.
You've been listening to Trump Talk Live, making America great again, 1 hour at a time. Follow us at Volusia County Republican Party on Facebook or go to our website, TrumpTalkLive.com for updates. Join your Trumpublican hosts, Vic Baker and Tony Ledbetter, for another fearless edition of Trump Talk Live next Thursday at 7 p.m. right here on WNDB 1150 AM and 93.5 FM. Trump Talk Live is presented each week by the Republican Party of Volusia County, where we the people have the right voice when it comes to defending America's founding values. In God we trust, in America we believe.
The Republican Executive Committee of Volusia County is responsible for the content of this advertising.
FM 93.5, AM 1150 WNDB Daytona Beach. Proud to be locally owned, a Southern Stone station.
Another congressional resignation. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The announcement just hours ago, a Republican member of Congress announces he's stepping down.
In an abrupt resignation announcement, Arizona Republican Trent Franks apologized for insensitive